Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Come on! Live from the Govardhan Echo Village in India. This is Wisdom of the Sages, your daily yoga podcast. I'm your host, Raghunath, with my good friend and co-host, Kaustubha. Welcome to our show. So we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is a book. You're looking for a revolution in your life. You want to change your life. You really want to spin things around, throw your world upside down. This is it right here. This book creates a revolution in the hearts of humanity. And it can do it to you. And it's done it to a lot of our listeners. We're at a weird time today. So our Zoom listeners are only at 49 today. But we keep on changing the times of them. So I'm pretty impressed that they're even still hanging in. And we're here with a bunch of our yoga teacher trainees. We do this every January at the Govardhan Echo Village. Study sacred literature, yoga, kirtan. We're trying to create an academy so people can really dive into these yogic arts. There's a lot of them. We learn a little bit of them. We learn how to do up dog, down dog, Pinchamayurasana. There's a lot of stuff out there. And we're doing cooking, Ayurveda for yoga teachers, how to put kirtan in your yoga classes, which really changes stuff. Mm-hmm. That was like a game changer for myself and for a lot of the students. You have students, you're singing in class and they just start crying. They don't even know why they're crying. They don't even know why they're crying. This book gives insight into why they're crying. Because you touch on something that's underneath the mind and underneath the intelligence and underneath the ego.
It makes no material sense.
Makes no material sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
Makes no material sense whatsoever.
We're talking
about. So we are
are
in the epic study of this 18,000 verse epic study. Of this 18, I'm on 18,000 verses epic study. I mean, it's a TikTok. Anyway, happy to have the people on Zoom. If you're interested in joining our Zoom group, you can see each other. It makes it more fun. And you got to contact Mara. Mara, our executive producer, her email is wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. You can write any questions if you're one of the outsiders. If you're listening outside, or if you'd like to join us live someday, sometimes we offer that opportunity where you're not just on Zoom, but you're actually here in the present with us. We have a big live here. I'll just show you everybody. Here's live. Yeah. Or if you want to see what we look like, but you can never join live or on Zoom, you can always just go to YouTube. If you go to YouTube, you got to leave a 5-star review. You have to.
I don't think they have that on YouTube, but you just subscribe. Do they?
Yeah, you subscribe. You hit a bell that gives you notification.
Yeah.
And you can leave a 5-star. You can leave us a little message. We read them all.
Yeah, we'd love to get the messages.
Also, you can find us on Apple Podcasts too, and Spotify and
many other podcast platforms.
Any other podcast platform. How about that? So we're going to dive in. But before we dive in, we always say a prayer to the Bhagavatam. And this is it. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati utama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. In prayer to our teachers, Om Agyana Tamurandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Medadam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. All right. Anyway, we want to say, now that we're on, I want to say congratulations to Katie for her beautiful baby. Katie, our Zoomer, is here, and our local at Super Soul is here. And Tom, I want to say, Tom, our executive producer, has a movie coming out.
Okay.
Yeah, we got to just give it up to Tom news. Here. What's the name of the movie? Say it for everybody. Loud.
Go, don't go.
Go, don't go.
Go, don't go.
And it's getting into some film festivals right now. We're excited for you. Inspired by you too. We're inspired by you too. We're not trying to make you second best, Mara. You're number one with us. Mara, our executive producer, she's always here on the ball, knitting away. Sean Murphy, our vegan trucker, says, let's have a movie night. Let's do it, Tom. So we're diving into the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 3, Text 40, Text 39. You ready, Kastu?
I'm ready.
Okay. So this is this chapter is called Krishna is the source of all incarnations. If you're coming from a Judeo-Christian background, all this stuff gets pretty confusing. What to talk incarnations? Thought God was one. Thought we were one. Thought it's all one. Right?
Yeah.
It is. But it's different. It is and it's different. Right? The whole world is, it's not black and white.
It's a little nuanced.
It's a little nuanced, right? You light a candle. That candle lights a candle, lights another candle, lights a candle, lights a candle. You got 20 candles lit. It's all one candle in one sense, isn't it?
Yeah, in one sense it's all fire or whatever.
In one sense it's all from one candle, but it's not all one. It is all one and it's all not one, right?
Yes.
Because there's the original candle that lit it. Krishna, tu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the original. That was the big verse. What do you say that in Sanskrit?
Paribhasa Sutra.
Paribhasa Sutra. Zoomers, you should know this. If you're on Zoom, get ready to get quizzed because sometimes I just pick one of you randomly and get you. Okay? So, yes, that is the verse. That's basically highlights the Vedic paradigm. That's why we talk about Krishna so much.
Yeah.
That's why we talk about Krishna so much.
Well, that's what the Bhagavatam was. It was like Vyasadeva had written all of this literature, but in a sense, and he was feeling a little despondent afterward. He didn't know why. And his guru said, more or less, you haven't talked about Krishna enough. You haven't brought people to that. So right off the bat in Bhagavatam, he says, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, opens up with that. This is about Krishna. And then the sages say, tell us about Krishna, tell us about his pastimes. And then this chapter was, okay, I'm going to tell you about all the different avatars and much more to come.
And it's not that we don't worship Ram or want to go to Ayodhya or read the Ramayan. It's not that we don't worship the other avatars of Vishnu. But what happens here, and this is a good point, because someone asked me, well, why aren't we singing all these other 33 million gods out there? Why all these Krishna songs? And I just want to share that. And it's a good question, because sometimes you go to a kirtan, I put quotes, kirtan, and everyone's just like singing, okay, let's sing a song to Durga. Let's sing a song to Shiva. Let's sing a song to Kali Ma. Let's sing a song. And it's not that we don't appreciate and even have developed affection for different facets of the absolute truth. We do. But it's different. We're not, listen, hear me out on this, and Kostuba, you can tell me this is good. When you teach Hinduism or Vedic theology or spiritual science of India, you learn about all these things objectively, the manifestations, the avatars, the demigods, their powers, their potencies. And that's an objective study. And when we teach a training, we have an objective study. That's understandable. But there's a little difference when you start to practice in a tradition. What happens is you fall in love with the worshipful deity of that tradition. It's just what happens. We fall in love with Krishna. It's not objective. Objectively, we lose our objectivity to this subjective bhakti, and that's what's going on in bhakti. In bhakti, we don't want to go so wide. We want to go deep. We don't want to go so wide. We want to go deep. We're deeply in love with sweet baby Krishna. What can we do? He's adorable.
Yeah, I agree. I also think, though, you could say purely objectively.
Purely objectively.
Yeah.
And we're not making this up. We just read it.
Yeah.
It's the name of the chapter. Krishna is the source.
Right.
Krishna is the source. So the other candles also, they're worshipful. We celebrate Ram's appearance. And some people just have an affection for Ram that they can't even deny. Tell the story.
Oh, you're thinking of Murari Gupta.
Yeah, please.
This is, of course, you know, when you get to the esoteric side of bhakti, there's a description that Sri Krishna himself, it's a fascinating subject and it's a big subject. So I'm just going to breeze past it real quick just to set the setting for what you're asking me to speak about. But
isn't it great that I just said, tell the story and he knows exactly what I'm talking about? This was not rehearsed. We just know each other that well.
But it says that Krishna, he sees the love that Radha has for him, the love that the gopis have for him, and he realizes the experience of holding that love in the heart, that pure bhakti in the heart for Krishna, for that ultimate object of devotional love. That feeling is actually more intense than that love being sent to you. And he realizes that they possess the very highest thing. And he wonders what that is like. So he descends as an avatar, as Sri Chaitanya, to experience what it's like to hold love, hold bhakti in his own heart, the way that the gopis do. And so there he has many associates, and those associates come from all the spiritual world. And one of them was named Murari Gupta. And Sri Chaitanya was teaching love for Radha and Krishna. But this Murari Gupta had this particular love for Lord Ram, who is an incarnation of Krishna. Ram is an incarnation of Krishna, but that was his personal affection, like you were saying. That was his subjective devotional mood. And although it was being objectively shown to him why Krishna is the source of Ram, it displays some more qualities than Ram. Why don't you connect with this Krishna? It will be even more satisfying for you. He tried. And then he came back to Sri Chaitanya and said, I've been trying, but I just cannot, my heart, I just cannot remove it from the lotus feet of Lord Ram, no matter how hard I try.
I cannot give up my love for Ram.
I can't do it. And so then Sri Chaitanya said, this is what your love is perfect just as it is. And then it was revealed to him that he was also a person coming from the spiritual realm to play that role. And that was, Raghu, are you
Hanuman.
with Hanuman?
He was an incarnation of Hanuman. Am I echoing today? People out there, give me a thumbs up.
Or, well, thumbs up if he's echoing, or thumbs up.
Some people say a little. Liam says a
little.
little.
Echoing.
What am I doing? How can I not echo?
I think we just got to put like a blanket in front of your microphone or something like that.
Maybe a blanket over my head. It's when I get loud. All right, I'm going to do NPR Raghunath today.
What if
live from Washington, D.C., and this is Raghunath. All right.
Text 39.
Did I even start reading it? No, I didn't. I read the title of the chapter. Only by making such inquiries in this world can one be successful and perfectly cognizant. Really? I've been saying it wrong all these years?
If you were perfectly cognizant.
Perfectly cognizant.
You would pronounce it cognizant.
For such inquiries invoke transcendental ecstatic love. How do you get the love? You ask inquiries. All right, that's what we're doing. And they invoke transcendental love unto the personality of Godhead, who is the proprietor of all the universes and guarantees 100% immunity from the dreadful repetition of birth and death. It's interesting how when you talk about the repetition, I mean, the sages always say the dreadful repetition of birth and death. People are like, well, it's good. It's a good thing. What's wrong? We get born. Born is wonderful.
Death and nothing you do about it.
Death, yeah, we're gonna die. Whatever. Right. I'm not gonna. I'll die someday. But yeah,
it's mentioning here, and you were mentioning that it requires these inquiries, right, or inquiries. that this is the way that transcendental knowledge descends, right? It's not that you climb up to it, but actually you request it to descend through like the right kind of questions.
With the right attitude.
Yeah.
If you have the right attitude, the speaker wants to give more.
Yeah.
If you have a bad attitude, the speaker's like,
it's not going to work.
I've got something valuable. I don't have to share it with you.
Not even like as a punishment, but just like it's just not working here.
It's not working here. And that's the whole mood of respect. I mean, I saw this nice kid yesterday, a little Indian child, like 12 years old. And he went right up to one of the brahmacharis with his father and touched the brahmachari's feet.
Yeah.
It's just like this. And my wife watched and was like, that's so beautiful. It's just so beautiful. There's like a kid, 12, nowadays a kid's playing a video game.
Yeah.
Come on, say hello. Say hello. You're meeting someone. The kid's not even looking at the kid. Say hello. Shake his hand. Look him in the eye. We're what happened?
And
where did everything go so wrong?
And the beautiful thing, like I've seen, exactly what you're saying, like in this Chaupati community of Raghunath Swami in Mumbai, this very beautiful temple. It's a community where the real essence of bhakti carries out in all the relationships. It's just special to see. And there I've seen one of the monks that's been there since nearly the beginning, Govinda Prabhu. Many people that I'm on this podcast probably have heard of him or met him before. He's just such a pure soul, and he's very good with the children. So he gives classes to the children and tells them, Mahabharata stories. So when they're very young, they're developing this relationship with him. It's not just based on respect him because he's the elder, respect him because he's the monk. He's just given them so much. Sure. He's entertained them, but entertained them in such a way where it's enlightening to them, and they're getting it even at a young age, and their genuine, from the heart, respect for him is so high. And then the parents, it's like, in a gentle way, but like when they're trying to steer their children down the right path, they say, well, we're going to have to tell Govinda Prabhu about this. Like, no, okay, I'll do right, because, and that's a healthy kind of social pressure, for lack of a better word.
No, it's positive.
I
positive peer pressure. Positive peer pressure.
Yeah, I want to live up to the higher standard.
Right.
And when you have a community that can do that, not in an oppressive way, but in an uplifting way, it becomes a very dynamic spiritual community.
You want people in your life that are going to make you want to upgrade your life. Those are called friends.
Yeah.
Now we have in the material world, in my material world, there's people that we call friends, but they bring us way down. They weigh down heavy on us. There are friends that when I get into trouble when I'm with them, as soon as I get around them, I act crazy.
Or even just the conversation just goes low.
Conversation goes low, and they're not our real friends. It should be understood. If they're bringing us down on a regular basis, watch out. This is your life. It's precious. We've got to be around people that bring us up on a regular basis. We got to surround ourselves with people people that we're married to, in our household, people that we date. If the person is not bringing me up spiritually that I'm dating, we may want to rethink dating, right?
Yeah.
Careful who you let in.
Particularly in an intimate way, you're associating closely with.
Yeah, we want to see where it's before we date. Can I give some data?
That's dating advice from Raghunath.
Dating advice from Raghunath. We should figure out where we want to be a year from now, 5 years from now, 20 years from now.
It's hard for people, I think, but it's wise advice. It's hard for someone to say, I would imagine, I'm not in the dating world, and I haven't been for 40 years or something like that.
Isn't it great not to be in the dating world? I hate that world.
But I think it's hard for people because you want to meet someone nice, and you don't want to make the standard too high, for you might lose an opportunity to connect with someone nice.
Keep it high. That's what I say.
But you're saying keep it high, and I think this is what I've seen.
Never date when you're lonely. That's my.
No,
never date when you're lonely.
Never date when you're lonely.
It's like going food shopping when you're hungry. But you start shoving anything in the basket.
But but I have seen that people like, and again, this is my own subjective observation, but my faith is that when people set that standard kind of high, that particularly I'm saying in the realm of bhakti, that bhakti is giving my life to God, giving my life to Krishna. This is what I want. This is my value. This is kind of become the center of my life. And the person that I'm going to meet is going to have to work with that. They're going to have to understand that. Ideally, they're going to embody that. That, God can reciprocate,
Yeah. Can I give some more good advice for people dating?
Sure.
Ouch. What the hell is going on with this thing? Just got a shock from my computer. You too? You thought it was just you? Like you're like some lightning child, or
She's been enduring it.
she's been
Quietly enduring it with devotion.
sorry. Wait a year. Wait a year. Start chanting.
Wait a year.
Start chanting. Everybody on Zoom should be chanting already.
Wait a year before what?
Listen.
Okay.
Listen. No, I didn't mean it like that.
I'm on here.
I'm sorry. Forgive me.
I'm listening. Let's hear it.
Just like my thoughts get like knotted, and I have to just like let it unknot.
Wait a year.
Wait a year. Engage in a spiritual practice. Here we chant the Maha Mantra on beads, one time around. That's it. If you're listening to on Zoom, that's a requirement. Otherwise, get your ass off Zoom. Okay. No, that's our encouragement on Zoom, because the book will actually make more sense. Because the book has a reciprocate. It's true.
Yeah.
The book has a reciprocating relationship with you. Because Bhagavan and the book is non-different.
That's a big statement right there, Raghunath. But it's a powerful one.
I'm not saying it. I didn't make it up. I'm not that smart.
You're repeating it.
I'm repeating it from the book itself.
But also from your own,
the book Bhagavat and the person Bhagavat.
And from your own experience. But it's a fact that if you actually relate to the Bhagavatam as a person, it can reveal itself to you. You have to, the heart has to open up to it, like with actual sense of genuine affection. You know, you feel that. And it is, one time, you know, this one devotee, Pragosh Prabhu, told me, he was with Prabhupada, I believe it was in Hawaii. And Prabhupada was holding up the Krishna book, which is the
10th canto.
It's basically the 10th canto, him telling it as a story. And Prabhupada said, this book, you think it's a book, but it's not a book. This is Krishna looking like a book. and that may sound cute or something like that, but my faith is you think deeply about that. You try to really understand what he's saying, and you understand that Krishna is manifesting through this sound.
I fully believe that.
I buy it.
I fully believe that.
Okay, so now please continue the point.
You engaging in your spiritual practice, disciplining your life. Like, for example, letting go of the things. Suppose you're attached to meat eating.
Yeah.
Let go of meat eating. You say, you know what? I'm going to change that. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to do that to my body. I don't want to do the other animals.
All right.
You upgrade your you upgrade the things that you read on a regular basis.
Okay. What you consume.
What you're putting in. What you're putting in all your senses.
Yeah.
You add some chanting to your life. And lay off the opposite sex or same sex, whoever you're dating. Lay off
For 1 year.
for a year.
Okay.
In 1 year, you will choose a different person. And guarantee me in 3 months, you'll be like, no, I found the person. You didn't find the person.
The test will come.
That's the test. You think you found the person. You didn't find the person. Wait that whole year. It's sort of like a detox. Okay. And you'll realize there's a neediness that we have. We're trying to put a person in that God-shaped hole.
You call this dating detox.
Dating detox.
Okay.
Boom. It's a mug.
You know, it's interesting that what you just described requires something that our average Western person is not particularly well trained in, and that is like controlling my senses. Rather than just following what my senses dictate, I actually want to determine what I'm going to consume through my eyes, through my ears, through my mouth, etc. The people that I associate with, how I spend my time. And in my mind, it's so hard in the world to do that. I live in New York City. I see what a crazy situation it is. I see the way the relationships work there. We really need to have a few good friends at least. If we can have a broader community that shares these same values, great. But if we have a few friends that share those values, we can really help one another. You know, that's a real friend. Someone that shares my values, that understands them, and we encourage each other to move forward that way. And then the same things that, like, say maybe I have a hard time not binging out on Netflix, right? But we can say, okay, let's take one step forward. Let me watch half as much as I keep a little diary and I say I'm watching 4 freaking hours a day.
Yeah, it's the Yoga Sutras here. We're going to regulate the senses. How do you do it? If you can't control the senses, you regulate them. Practice and detachment.
Yeah, practice and detachment. So let me take a step towards detachment. I'm going to watch half as much, right? This week I'm going to watch half as much. or I'm only going to watch things that don't really drag me down. Like, okay, I'm going to watch the nature stuff, or I'm going to watch this, just like there are steps that we could take to uplift what we're consuming that aren't drastic necessarily, but we may take that half step and we may feel, I feel a little better now. That was a better week than the week before. And then we take another step. And if we have friends there that are supporting us in that, then we actually have what's called a spiritual community. Even if it's 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, even if they're at a distance, you can do it online.
Sometimes there's things we really struggle with, and we know they really take us down. There's a big problem for me. You need a support group.
Yeah.
You need a support group on your favorites list that you call or that you text when you feel like I'm on a slippery slope. People are struggling with very serious things that they know in their hearts, like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. It's not the best representation of who I am. It's not the real me, but I can't control my senses. You need a community of people that you can text message, help me, I'm struggling right now.
Yeah.
You need to reach out to 10 people before you act on an impulse. There has to be a separation from impulsive activity. That's when tamas has us by a tight leash, and we need to loosen that leash by regulation. Suppose I can't stop drinking beer. 7 days a week, I always drink beer. Then you need to sit with a friend or a teacher and who says, okay, you want to drink beer? You can't give it up. 4 days a week, you can drink beer. 3 days a week, you can drink beer.
Now 2.
And then what'll happen is on that day that you can drink, after 2 weeks, you'll be like, well, I actually don't even need it. Today's my drinking day. I don't need it today. And you skip it. And then, I can't drink. It's Thursday. I don't drink on Thursday. And after a while, the grip, the tightness of addiction, and I'm not just talking about drugs and alcohol, but any type of thing that you feel addicted to. It could be masturbation, it could be pornography, it could be Netflix, it could be anything that you feel is taking you down. It's got to be regulated. And that's how we deal with the senses. We regulate them, and slowly they loosen the grip. We don't want to start choosing our partners because we are desperate for some validation and neediness. Oh, she thinks I'm attractive? I'll take her. That's what we do. We're looking around. Anyone finds me attractive, then I throw myself at them. And it's crazy talk. And so we have to start noticing how the mind is owned by tamas and rajas. We have to create a separation.
And just start moving forward, step by step.
Start moving forward.
Have you heard that story? The way that you just described that, it makes me think maybe you have. But have you heard that story that Shyamasundar Prabhu tells about how he was smoking cigarettes and how Prabhupada helped him with that?
No.
Shyamasundar Prabhu, for those that don't know on the podcast, he's one of the original disciples of Srila Prabhupada, and one of the he basically, and we have had the good fortune the last few years to be with him. But he's basically the guy that popularized the whole Hare Krishna movement. He's a total Renaissance man.
Yeah, right? The coolest guy you'd ever meet.
And humble to the core, just sweetheart.
Humble, wants no respect. He was just here when we got here, right? And he basically was the one that met the Beatles, got the Beatles into it. He did
so many.
He and his roommate single-handedly started Haight-Ashbury. The whole movement of Haight-Ashbury that the whole world knows about, he and his roommate started it. His roommate was the manager of the Grateful Dead.
Okay. So he was there at that time, 1967, in San Francisco. Srila Prabhupada somehow drops right into the Summer of Love, and crazy, right? And so he was serving. He was so impressed by Srila Prabhupada, and he was serving him, but he didn't know anything. He was so new to everything, and he had this habit that Prabhupada was asking his disciples, okay, I'm happy to teach you, but my teaching doesn't mean anything if you don't learn some self-discipline, because yoga requires that. So Prabhupada was asking all his followers not to smoke cigarettes, but he had that habit. And then he kind of like...
Tough habit, by the way. It's still a tough habit. People can't stop giving cigarettes up.
Very addictive. So Prabhupada, he was a little embarrassed in front of Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, okay, he was smoking 2 packs a day or something like that. And Prabhupada said something like, you know what, just take one, you smoke 1 pack a day or something like that. Every day, just take 1 more out and just make it 1 less. I don't know how many cigarettes in a pack, like 32 or something like that, 20. Okay. He said, just keep taking one out. And then when you're done, then you're done. And that's what he did.
There you go.
And he just, and that was it. So it's there's that positive peer pressure that you're talking about. And there's that need for community that we all have. There used to be something called extended families, and they would help people through all of their, I have cousins and aunts and uncles and so on. And this community would help us get through the bumps in life. And, for whatever reason, our society, for most people, that's not a strong influence in their life. But even if we have 1, 2, 3 good friends, that we all have a pact together, we're all trying to lift each other up. We're all trying to step-by-step move forward.
They're your real friends.
They're your real friends.
They're your real friends.
And they may not be the people that you think they are. They may be someone that the last person that you think it is.
Yeah.
But then the years go by, and then you have that connection. Say, you've been my real friend.
You're my friend. You are. Let's continue.
Oh, let's start.
Well, no, we got.
Did we read one?
Kostuba, come on.
All right.
Text 40.
That's right. We read one.
Srimad Bhagavatam. Here.
Oh, this is the big one.
This is it. This is it.
So
this is it. I just said this.
Now we're gonna hit like the last 4 verses, I think, in this chapter are just a glorification of the Bhagavatam itself, because the sages had asked their 6th question. The last question the sages asked back in chapter 1 to Suta Goswami was, now that Krishna has left, now that Kali Yuga is setting in, where does Dharma take shelter? Where will we go to connect with Dharma? Now we're going to have the answer.
Srimad Bhagavatam is the literary incarnation of God and is compiled by Srila Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people, and it is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect.
There you go.
Howdy both. Now, you got to understand, like, the Bhagavatam, even though it's compiled, it's an eternal conversation.
Sure. So
it's, as a matter of fact, it was spoken by Brahma in 4 verses, the Chatur Shloki of the Bhagavatam.
Chatur Shloki.
And it
4 verses, which literally means 4 verses.
Yeah, like Chaturanga, Chatur Shloki. And so sometimes, people write in a question on the chat board, and someone in the live answers the questions. One of the Californians writes a question in, and what you got going on, one of the others email a question in, and what you have is more conversations. We are living right now an extension, yet another story within a story of the Bhagavatam.
Then your community, when your community is asking these questions and reading Bhagavatam together, it's extending it, right? It makes your community, it gives it spiritual life.
So sometimes it even speaks, and we got to understand all these stories are almost stories within stories within stories. The whole Bhagavatam is many, many stories within a story.
And the next verses are going to kind of lay that out too.
Yeah. Srila Vyasadeva delivered it to his son, who is the most respected amongst the self-realized.
Sukadeva Goswami.
After extracting the cream of all Vedic literatures and histories of the
Start over.
Srila Vyasadeva delivered it to his son, who is the most respected amongst the self-realized, after extracting the cream of all Vedic literatures and histories of the universe.
Okay, so that's such a significant point. We've made it before, but here it's being said. The sages at Naimisarana, where the book started, were saying to Suta Goswami that you have read all these books of Vyasadeva. You have lived the most exemplary life of devotion. You've had the right attitudes. You've been blessed. We have all this vast Vedic literature, and we don't know what's the highest thing. We don't know what's the essence of it all. You please give us the essence. Cream is another kind of word for essence. It's that the thick part of it. And so now Suta Goswami is answering their question. He answered it by saying, Bhagavatam is where Dharma goes. This is what brings the highest good. That was another one of their questions. And now he's saying, now Vyasadeva, the author himself, he compiled the cream of it all. He's presenting it in its maturity. And he shared it with his son named Sukadeva Goswami, who was such a special transcendentalist, like the most respected. And now he's going to more or less say, I was there when Sukadeva Goswami spoke at Maharaja Pariksit, and I'm going to repeat it for you now.
Yeah, and there's a good little thing in the purport too.
Let's hear.
Men with poor fund of knowledge. That's
them again. They're back.
Poor fund of knowledge. Men with a poor fund of knowledge only accept the history of the world from the time of Buddha, or since 600 BC. And prior to this period, all histories mentioned in sacred literature are calculated by them to be only imaginary stories. That is not a fact. All the stories mentioned in the Puranas and the Mahabharata, etc., are actually histories, not only of this planet, but of also millions of other planets within the universe. Sometimes the histories of the planets beyond this world appears to such men to be unbelievable.
Frog in the well.
We're like a frog in a well. What do we know? And that's when you start entering into the possibility of reality. When you finally get off my big, arrogant throne.
Your big horse.
I think I know everything. And you realize I'm on a tiny little planet. And I have no idea what's going on. I don't even have ideas what's going on the other side of this wall. What's going on inside my body, or what's happening ever like lay in the grass? Just lay in the grass one day, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, there's a whole like bug universe going on here. Look, they're trying to take away the dead caterpillar. Or they're trying to kill that caterpillar. Whatever it is, it's sort of like there's like micro universes right in front of our face.
Yeah.
Guess what? There's macro universes and macro universes.
Yeah.
That's why there's still 33 million demigods.
Broaden the mind a little.
Of course there is.
Yeah.
And according to the Bhagavatam, there's life on every planet.
And what you're saying right now relates to what we just read back in text 39, where it said, only by making such inquiries in this world can one successfully be perfectly cognizant. Because if you're in that well, you don't know what's beyond the well unless you ask someone who's been there, who's seen something beyond that well. And similarly, it's saying that we understand who we are within this broader universe only by hearing from a source that's beyond it. There you go.
We have no idea what we can't perceive.
We don't know what we
place.
don't know.
We don't know what we don't know. We don't know what we don't know. And the Bhagavatam itself is saying, trust me on this one. There's stuff out there you can't perceive. It's just way beyond your brain.
Open up, but it'll make sense.
You're like a little bug.
And like
a little bug, right? You're like a little bug trying to figure out, the Chinese language. You can't. You're a bug.
You're a bug.
You'll never learn Chinese, bug.
But just a little bit at a time. You don't have to throw your faith in one big,
Yeah. But it's good to hear. It's good to hear it.
Yeah, just open your mind up to the possibility.
Yeah, right? I like to say to the students, could be. That's a great hashtag too. Could be.
Give it a good thorough.
Could be. Wait a second. I've never seen a guy with 4 heads. I've seen Siamese twins. I've seen, I've never seen a man with 4 heads. Could there be a person with four heads? Could be. I don't know. I've never seen one. I've also never seen a zebra in real life.
I haven't.
At a zoo, I did.
Okay.
But, I never saw one in my backyard. Oh, zebra! Or on the side of the road. Hey, watch out, there's zebras crossing here. Oh, baby zebra.
You always go to the baby.
If I didn't have television or a zoo, I wouldn't see a zebra. Right. And if I was to see a zebra one day, I'd be like, oh my God.
It's true.
A zebra.
It's all true.
It's a zebra. It's fascinating. The zebras are fascinating.
They are. Although I've never seen one.
I bet you've never been to a zoo.
My uncle took me to the Bronx Zoo once, but I don't remember it. Maybe I did see a zebra. Yeah. I just remember him saying one thing. It's the animals are outside the cages here. You ever been to the Bronx Zoo?
All righty. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a great little purport there.
So now this is continuing here, like he's giving a little history that Vyasadeva, the main man, right? The guy that's laid it all out, the person that's provided all the yogic literature that everything else stems from. He delivered to his son, who's named Sukadeva Goswami.
These are names we should know. Say them again, because 2 of these main characters.
Srila Vyasadeva is the person that wrote the 4 Vedas. He wrote the Upanishads. He wrote the Mahabharata with the Bhagavad Gita in it. He wrote all the Puranas, and culminating in the Srimad Bhagavatam. He also wrote the Vedanta Sutras. So that body of literature, which we could call Vedic literature, that is a source of practically all Eastern philosophy stems off of that in one way or another. All our concepts of reincarnation and karma and all of that is coming from those works. And so that person he spoke. He said, "Let me provide the cream of all this." Is what is being said. The essence of all this. Let me teach it to my son, Sukadeva Goswami.
Okay, I'm going to ask vegans to plug their ears because vegans train themselves to hate anything related to milk. But if you can imagine, maybe even pre-vegan, and we have a lot of sympathy to vegan. We're practically vegans the way we eat, but that's a whole nother show. We could talk about veganism and vegetarianism and problems with vegetarianism nowadays and the contamination of the milk and the.
That's
but anyway, I just want to. The idea is that if you've ever eaten milk, and you have the good quality yogurt that's got the cream on the top, you know what I'm talking about? The cream on top yogurt, or if you buy unhomogenized milk, the cream comes to the top.
Yes.
If you're a little kid, because I got kids, they go right to that cream and.
It's the essence.
Because it's the tastiest. It's the thickest and it's the creamiest, and kids love it. That's why kids like butter. All my kids would just like get a stick of butter and just like chew it without prompting. It's just like it's sweet and it's fatty. Kids are attracted to it. So it's saying it's the cream of the Vedic literature.
The Bhagavatam is going to call itself, or great souls will call the Bhagavatam the cream of the Vedic literature, the work of Vyasadeva in his maturity, or the ripened fruit.
The ripened fruit.
So whatever analogy you want to use,
I like the ripened fruit.
It's saying that Vyasadeva wrote a lot of incredibly, profound works, but this Bhagavatam is where it's all meant to go.
This is an interesting point too. So they're saying, according to like Ayurveda, milk is undoubtedly very healthy and nourishing.
Where are you?
When it's
where
touched,
are you reading
I'm in the
from?
purport.
When
it's touched by the mouth of a snake. Well, imagine if you were a farmer and all of a sudden you're going to get the milk, but you see a snake, a poisonous snake with his little head dipping into that milk bucket. Yeah, a venomous snake, suppose a cobra.
Right.
Are you going to drink that milk now?
No. Got to throw it out.
You got to get rid of it. Similarly, those who are not strictly following the Vaishnava discipline should not make a business of the Bhagavatam and become a cause of spiritual death to so many. So
there's a tradition in India.
Well, it's not only that; it's even the tradition of hearing what we're like to the degree that we have those disciplines in our life. Everything we were just talking about, the strangling tightness of addiction, to the degree that we can just zip up our own life, the Bhagavatam starts to blossom for us. Sometimes you see a bud, and it's like, that's sort of pretty, but then all of a sudden it starts to bloom. It's like, wow, that's gorgeous. Wow, that's fragrant. This is what the Bhagavatam does for us.
So what do you mean by zip up our own life?
Zip up our own control of our senses, control of our mind, what we're consuming, like we were saying earlier. So it's saying by following these disciplines of the Vaishnavas.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Then otherwise we can't, the Bhagavatam won't speak to us in the same way. We'll get a little glimpse. We even might get that makes sense. That makes sense. But that's why I'm encouraging everybody on Zoom, at least, start the meditational process of japa. And the book will reveal more of itself to you. It'll start to blossom for you.
Nice.
What do you think about that, Kasuma?
I think that's very important. And just to give more context to what's being said in the commentary here, that because when you hear the stories of Krishna's life, they're very beautiful. They're attractive.
Charming.
And people have made
quite naughty.
He gets naughty. But people have made a profession out of telling the stories, because what's about to be said right here is that for 7 days and 7 nights, Sukadeva Goswami spoke to the king Maharaja Pariksit, and he spoke the Bhagavatam. So they call these things Bhagavat Saptahas, 7 days of Bhagavatam stories. And people will travel around India doing these big programs. Thousands of people come and they'll speak, but they'll go right to Krishna's pastimes in the 10th canto without helping people understand what it's really all about. And they'll do it for profit.
The idea is that Krishna's erotic leelas, if you actually understand them from the first canto, they're not erotic.
Well, they are.
They're erotic, but in a way that we can't even understand.
Yes.
Because we are these lovers of Krishna, and Krishna is calling us out of the material world. And everything we have, like Raghunath Swami was saying in class yesterday, everything in this world is a reflection of a spiritual realm. It's just a perverse reflection,
Backwards.
and it can't be fully enjoyed in this world. I can't fully enjoy a reflection of a banana in the mirror,
Right.
and it won't fulfill me. Therefore, we pursue these things of this world that appear like this should make me happy.
Yeah.
This should make me happy. And we become frustrated only to go, what is it all about? We throw our hands up in the air. That's
Right.
the big dawn of our spiritual life.
Right. So the quote unquote love of this world is commonly blended with other ideas. And particularly when we're talking about erotic pastimes, they're commonly, clouded with lust. When we hear about Radha and Krishna's pastimes, Krishna and the Gopis pastimes, there's no lust. It's all pure love. It's all pure selflessness. And so if someone makes a profession of telling these stories just just on that material level that no one can really understand what it's really all about.
All right, well, I get paid. Am I bad? I get paid for sometimes what I do.
I'm talking about something different. I'm talking about someone that says, here's a way that I can make money telling stories without trying to really help people understand what it's all about. And so that's what here he's saying. That's like taking milk, which is something that's healthy, putting your poison in it. The
Gotcha.
serpent is dropping a little poison in.
Sure.
It's
Yes.
something that should be good for you has now won't be good for you if you're hearing it from that kind of person.
That makes sense. Shall I continue, Prabhu?
Please do.
Sukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, in his turn delivered the Bhagavatam to the great emperor Pariksit, who sat surrounded by sages on the banks of the Ganges, awaiting death without taking food or drink.
Such a dramatic scene.
Dramatic scene.
Yeah.
Pariksit, by the way, is the
Grandson.
grandson of Arjuna,
Yes.
and he's the last of the Pandavas. No.
Well, the last at that point, he was
At
the
this
one
point, he
heir.
was this point.
The one heir to the throne.
He was
All the other sons had been killed. So
Yeah. He was the heir to. Yeah, not the last of the Pandavas. What am I talking about?
at that point, he was the last of the Pandavas. Then Jamanajaya comes after him. But in other words, so many people died in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the battlefield that takes place immediately after the Bhagavad Gita is spoken. The sons of all the Pandavas were all killed, and the only heir left was Maharaja Pariksit.
If you'd like to read up on the Pandavas, the greatest epic ever, I'm going to encourage everybody. You can listen to it on Audible. It's on Audible. My kids love it. I love it. When I get in that car, it's all like, put on the Mahabharata. Mahabharata, best story you'll ever read. Hands down.
Yeah.
Greatest story ever told. 100,000 Sanskrit couplets.
Can we tell people exactly where to get it?
No
one
well,
knows.
I like Krishna Dharma's translation the best person.
And how does someone find it online?
Google search Krishna Dharma Mahabharata, and you will find them. You'll get it. He actually did an abbreviated one. One day I'm going to meet him. I'm going to say, this is awesome. You did a great job for the world, because this is such a nice, right? You like it, Mara? Mara likes it. It's the big version. He's got a smaller version, I think, too. Get the big one. When you get the big one, you really get into the characters. I tell you, I read that book when I'm like on the plane or something. Sometimes now I do it on Audible, but I'm always like sitting next to somebody and I'm just like bawling, crying. And they're like, sir, are you okay? Yes, I'm Karna. I start crying about Karna or something.
It's so tragic.
It's so tragic. It's so emotional, but you got to really get tied in. When I read small ones, it doesn't have the same effect. You really got to dive into the characters, fall in love with these people, despise those archetypes of evil. And it's such a wonderful read. And you really understand what the book, the Mahabharata does, it makes you eager to want to read the Bhagavad Gita. Because here is Arjuna, this hero. Every little boy in India wants to grow up and be an Arjuna. He's like the hero, and all of his brothers. And here's Krishna, this funny little guy. You don't know if he's just a little farming boy or if he's a prince. But all the people, all the heroes of the book think this guy is incredible. This guy is Bhagavan. This guy is the supreme. He's the best. And all the people you hate in the book, the archetypes of evil, those who are greedy and licentious and vicious, they all can't stand. Who is this Krishna?
They're so envious of him.
So they hate Krishna because he's defied everybody with his tricks, and they just call him a trickster or a wizard, and they don't. And so it gets to this point of our hero, Arjuna, is like brokenhearted. He doesn't know what to do. He's in this very crucial situation, and he turns to Krishna. What am I supposed to do now? And then Krishna says, let me give you some advice. And the Bhagavad Gita is that book. It's the song of God. It's Bhagavan's song.
It's like all the wisdom of the Upanishads he sets out in these 700 verses for Arjuna to understand how to move forward in life.
If you've ever read the Bhagavad Gita and we're just confused by, the very first verse, sometimes that's how I go. If I read the first verse, I was like, makes no sense. Close that book, throw it back on myself. Anyone do that with the Bhagavad Gita? Anybody like make it through 2 verses and be like, no, I'm going to wait for the movie.
A lot of names that I can't pronounce.
Yeah, a bunch of names. I can't. I'm a bad reader. It's pretty sad.
Somehow you've absorbed so much though, Prabhu.
I try to tell people I'm not smart, and they're like, nah, you're smart. And I go, no, I'm dead serious here.
No, you're smart.
I'm trying to help you out here. I'm trying to help you. But anyway, Krishna Dharma. He also did the Ramayan and the other great epic. Easy. These are big, thick, but great reads. Ramayan by Krishna Dharma too.
All right.
I get no percentage for this. I'm just saying it because I love them.
Nice.
How we doing, Mara?
So we could end this chapter today.
Yeah. Okay, let me go here.
So we just read that Sukadeva Goswami spoke to Maharaja Pariksit, who was sitting at the bank of the Ganges waiting to die. And that's all going to be laid out at the end of this canto. And now the big
mic drop. Important stuff right here in the purport. It's got to be said. All transcendental messages are received properly in the chain of disciplic succession.
Same point again. It's by increase, not by climbing up to it. But you have to hear from someone that's outside the well. You gotta hear it from a person who's already controlling their senses, who's already living it, and a person who's dedicated to the Bhagavatam, or you're not going to get it. The disciplic succession is called parampara. That's a good word. You want to put that on the board there, Lindsay Scott? Parampara. Through the parampara system, the reception of knowledge, unless therefore the Bhagavatam or any other Vedic literatures are received through the parampara system, the reception of knowledge is not bona fide. Vyasadeva delivered this message to Sukadeva, from Sukadeva to Suta, and received the message. One should therefore receive the message of the Bhagavatam from Suta Goswami or from his representative, and not from any irrelevant interpreter. Okay.
It's a good one. The Bhagavad Purana. This is beautiful.
This is the mic drop verse right here, right?
This is a mic drop verse. But don't drop it. They're expensive.
Okay.
Please. The Bhagavad Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by Dharma, knowledge, etc.
Dharma Jnana.
Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in this age of Kali shall get light from this Purana.
That's the answer to the final question of the sages. Where is Dharma gone now that Krishna is left? It's in this book.
It's in this book. O learned Brahmanas, when Sukadeva Goswami recited the Bhagavatam there in the presence of Emperor Pariksit, I heard him with rapt attention, and thus, by his mercy, I learned the Bhagavatam from that great and powerful sage. Now I shall try to make you hear the very same thing as I learned it from him, as I have realized it.
And we all get to be part of that chain, right?
Yeah. It says in the purport, one cannot, however, hear the Bhagavatam from a bogus hired reciter whose aim of life is just to earn money out of such recitation and employ the earning in his sex indulgence.
Okay, he's just coming straight out.
He's coming straight out and saying it. Yeah. No one can learn the Bhagavatam. Okay.
He's like, I know what you guys are up to.
Anyway, that's it. We finished the chapter.
Thus ends.
Thus ends.
Bhaktivedanta purports to the first canto, third chapter, the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Krishna is the source of
an hour a day of Bhagavatam. An hour a day keeps Maya away. It does. It helps at least. Come on. We need some direction. We need some light. Thanks for if you're listening on the podcast. Check in with us on a regular basis. See how it happens. See what happens in a week. See what happens in a month. You can't see hands of a clock move, but they're moving. The Bhagavatam starts to chip us away and redirect us. Thank you, Kastuba.
Thank you, Raghu.
Thanks, everybody.